There are ghosts in this life that we cannot exorcise. They do not haunt houses, they haunt the corridors of the mind. They are the thoughts that return to us in the dead of night, when the world is silent, but the internal noise is deafening. We think of money not just as currency, but as survival, as status, as the wall between us and the abyss. We obsess over careers, constructing elaborate identities around titles that can be erased in a single afternoon. We cling to the people we love, terrified of the empty space their absence would leave. We live in a future that has not happened, constructing catastrophic scenarios, or we live in a past that is already dead, replaying old scripts of regret and shame. These thoughts are not merely visitors, they are squatters. They return again and again, interrupting the quiet of the night, piercing through the armor of a busy day, demanding to be felt. But if you look closely at the architecture of your suffering, you will notice a strange and terrifying paradox. Have you ever loved someone, truly loved them with every fiber of your being, and yet in the very center of that love, felt a vibration of pure anxiety? Have you ever worked yourself to the bone to build something, a business, a reputation, a home, in the moment you achieved it, instead of feeling the warm glow of satisfaction, you immediately felt the cold chill of worry about how to protect it? Have you ever held something precious in your hands, a newborn child, a fragile moment of perfection, and felt not joy, but the paralyzing fear of its inevitable loss? This is the strange irony of the human condition. We reach for happiness by grasping. We try to secure our footing by digging our nails into the earth. We try to keep people by tightening our grip. We try to solidify our sense of self by hoarding achievements. And yet, the tighter we hold, the more afraid we become. The sheer force of our grip crushes the very thing we are trying to protect. The more we love, the more we fear. The more we possess, the more we are possessed. This is not a defect in your personality. This problem does not belong only to you. It is the universal shadow of the human race. It brings us to a question that most of us spend our entire lives avoiding, burying it under distractions and desires, because it touches something profoundly uncomfortable inside the soul. Is my happiness entirely dependent on things I have absolutely no control over? The Buddha saw this mechanics of misery over 2,500 years ago. He looked at the human condition and he gave it a name, Dukkha. It is often translated as suffering, but it means something far more subtle and pervasive. It means dissatisfaction. It means the sense of a wheel that is off axle, a bone that is slightly out of socket. It is the gnawing sense that something is always slightly wrong, that peace is always just over the next horizon. But he also said that this dukkha is not random. It is not a punishment from a cruel God. It is a mechanism, and like any mechanism, it has a cause. That cause is what we must now place under the microscope. When the modern mind hears the word attachment, it recoils. People think it means holding on to the things they desire: money, success, romance, pleasure. They assume that the Buddhist teaching is a command to become an ascetic, to give everything up, to become a stone statue that feels nothing, wants nothing, and loves no one. This is a tragic misunderstanding. The Buddha taught something far more sophisticated. Attachment, called up danai in the ancient Pali language, literally means fuel. It is not about the object you are holding. It is about the nature of the grip. Imagine, for a moment, that you are holding a crystal glass of water. There is nothing inherently wrong with the glass. It is useful. You can drink from it to quench your thirst. You can set it down on a table. You can offer it to a friend. The glass is neutral. But now imagine that you believe this glass is the source of your soul. Imagine that if this glass breaks, you break. Imagine that someone tries to take the glass away and you feel a surge of primal panic. Your knuckles turn white. Your heart hammers against your ribs. The adrenaline floods your system. You think this is mine. I need this. If I lose this, I am nothing. That reaction, that desperate gripping, that terror, that contraction of the spirit that is attachment. The glass has not changed. It is still just glass and water. What has changed is your relationship to it. You have moved from using the glass to being enslaved by the glass. Clinging not. Having is the architect of suffering. You can possess a kingdom and not cling. You can have a family and not cling. You can have immense success and not cling. You can love deeply, passionately, and not cling. This brings us to a distinction that is razor, thin butt. Divides heaven from hell, the difference between love and attachment. In the Buddhist tradition, there is a concept called met, or loving kindness. The ancient texts describe it as a heart that wishes for all beings to be happy, to be at peace, to be free from suffering. This love is solar in nature. It radiates like the warmth of the sun. The sun does not ask the earth for payment. The sun does not say, I will shine on you only if you shine back. It simply gives because that is its nature. Attachment is different. Attachment is vampiric. Attachment says, I need you to be a certain way so that I can feel stable. It says, stay with me, behave how I want you to behave, because without you, I am incomplete. Consider the archetype of the mother. One mother loves with an open hand. She nurtures, protects, and guides, but she understands deep in her wisdom that her child is a separate sovereign being, not a possession. When the child grows and seeks independence, she feels a swell of joy, not abandonment. Her love was a gift, not a contract. Another mother loves with a closed fist. She gives everything, her time, her body, her energy, but she keeps a ledger. She expects a return on her investment. She needs the child to validate her existence. When the child seeks independence, she feels betrayed. She cries out after, all I did for you, how can you leave me? This is not love, this is a transaction disguised as affection. Most of us, if we are honest, have loved in both ways. The spiritual task is to recognize when the grip begins to tighten. But here is the darker truth, the one most people miss. We do not only cling to what we desire, we also cling to what we fear, what we hate, and what destroys us. Think about this carefully. There are times when we hold on to anger at someone who wronged us years ago. That anger is a hot coal we carry in our pocket, burning our own flesh every single day. Why do we keep it? Because the anger gives us a sense of righteousness. It gives us an identity. I am the one who was wronged. There are times when we replay a painful memory on a loop, unable to let it rest, picking at the scab until it bleeds again. There are times when we grip our worries so tightly that letting go feels dangerous, as if our anxiety is the only thing keeping the plane in the air. This, too, is attachment. The Buddha spoke of 3 kinds of craving, or to H there. Is the craving for sensual pleasure, the hunger for the next dopamine hit? There, Is the craving for existence the desire to be someone, to be famous, to be eternal? And then there is the third, the most subtle and dangerous one, the craving for non-existence, bhava-th. This is the craving to escape, the desire to annihilate the present moment, the desire to push away pain, to make uncomfortable feelings, disappear, to numb yourself. And yet, the very act of pushing creates its own kind of holding. When you hate something, you are bound to it with chains of steel. When you fear something, you carry it with you into every room you enter. When you construct a narrative of your own suffering, I am the victim, I am the broken one, I am the one who will never be enough, you become attached to that identity. The pain becomes your home. It is a miserable home, but it is familiar, and the ego prefers familiar misery to the unknown territory of freedom. Consider the person who holds a grudge for a decade. They believe they are punishing the enemy, but look closer, who is suffering? The enemy has moved on. Perhaps they are sleeping soundly. Perhaps they have forgotten entirely. Meanwhile, the one holding the grudge is drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The anger has become a prison cell, and the prisoner has swallowed the key. Or consider the chronic worrier. They believe their worry is a form of responsibility. They think, if I worry enough, I can prevent disaster. But does worry actually change the trajectory of the future? Or does it simply steal the peace of the present moment, leaving you exhausted? When the actual challenge arrives, the Buddha identified 4 distinct types of clinging that bind the human spirit. First, sensual clinging, the addiction to pleasant sensations. Second, view clinging, the desperate need to be right, to defend our opinions as if they were our bodies. Third, ritual clinging, believing that if we just perform the right routines, follow the right superstitions, we will be safe. And finally, the deepest root of the tree, self-doctrine. Clinging. This is the attachment to the idea of a permanent, solid me that must be defended at all costs. This is the root from which all other clinging grows. Because if there is a solid me, then there must be mine. And if there is mine, there is something to lose. And where there is something to lose, there is fear. The Buddha taught that this chain is what weeps the love. Suffering turning. Ignorance leads to craving. Craving leads to clinging. Clinging leads to suffering. But here's the question that must be asked. If attachment runs this deep, if it is woven into the very fabric of our biology, can we ever truly be free? We must acknowledge that our brains have been shaped by millions of years of evolution to hold on. Our ancestors did not survive by being chill. They survived because they hoarded food. They survived because they clung to their tribe. They survived because they anticipated danger around every corner. We are the descendants of the anxious. We are carrying hardware built for survival, not for happiness. This is not a flaw in your character, it is a feature of your biology. The Buddha understood this deep conditioning. He called these patterns and usaya latent tendencies. These are the sleeping volcanoes. Within the psyche, you might sit in meditation and feel completely at peace. You might think, I have done it, I have let go. And then you walk out the door, someone cuts you off in traffic or insults your pride, and suddenly the volcano erupts. The anger, the greed, the defensiveness it was. They're all along, lying dormant in the darkness, waiting for a trigger. This realization is humbling. It destroys spiritual Arrogance. The work of letting go is not a single cinematic moment of enlightenment. It is a gradual, gritty process of uncovering. It is meeting these tendencies again and again, and each time meeting them with a little more awareness, a little less reactivity. But here is the trap where many seekers die. They see their attachment, they see their ugliness, and they try to force it away. They declare war on their own minds. They say, I should not feel this. I must be spiritual. I must let go now. They approach their own psyche like an enemy combatant. This is the ultimate trap. The effort to get rid of attachment is itself a form of craving the craving for non-existence. When you fight your own mind, you are clinging to the idea of being free from clinging. It is like trying to smooth out turbulent water with a flat iron. The more you strike the water, the more chaotic it becomes. The hand that tries to pry open the other hand is itself a closed fist. You cannot bully yourself into peace. Tell yourself not to feel sad, and the sadness becomes a heavy stone. Tell yourself not to panic, and the panic multiplies. The more you fight the shadow, the larger it grows. So, what is the way out if we cannot indulge the attachment, and we cannot fight the attachment? What is left? The answer is a different kind of effort. Not the effort of force, but the effort of understanding. This is the middle way. The Buddha did not just diagnose the illness, he prescribed a cure. He offered a path, a training regimen for the human spirit, known as the Noble Eightfold Path. This is not a list of commandments to be obeyed under threat of hellfire. It is a set of tools for dismantling the prison. It begins with Hey, right view. This is the foundation. It means seeing reality as it actually is, not how we want it to be. It means staring into the face of impermanence. Look at something you are attached to right now. A relationship, a status symbol, a physical attribute. Now ask yourself, has this remained the same since I first found it? Can I guarantee it will be here tomorrow? When you look with brutal honesty, you see that everything is a river. Nothing is solid. The person you love is changing every second. The you who loves them is changing every second. When this truth moves from your intellect to your gut, something shifts. The mind stops demanding permanence from a world that cannot provide it. The grip relaxes, not because you forced it, but because you realized you are holding onto smoke. Then comes Kappa, right intention. This is the compass of the heart. It is the deliberate inclination toward renunciation, toward goodwill, toward harmlessness. It is the daily decision to unclench. Then the path moves into the world of action. Right speech, right action, right livelihood. These are not just moral rules, they are energy management. Every lie you tell creates a knot in your psyche. Every act of harm creates a debt of guilt. When you live with integrity, you stop creating new chains. You travel lighter. A mind free from remorse is a mind that does not need to cling to distractions to escape itself. And finally, the training of the mind itself. Right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Think of this as the cultivation of a warrior's awareness. Right mindfulness is the sentry at the gate. When attachment arises, you notice it. You don't judge it. You don't fight it. You simply name it. There is clinging. There is fear. There is the story of poor me. In that moment of noticing, you step out of the river and onto the bank. You are no longer the emotion. You are the witness of the emotion. This creates space. And in that space, freedom becomes possible. What does this freedom actually look like? It is not a state of zombie like emptiness. It is not. Sitting in a cave, cold and indifferent to the world. After the Buddha attained enlightenment, he did not vanish. He spent 45 years walking dusty roads, teaching, debating, helping, engaging with the world completely. He loved, but without the hunger of need. He acted, but without the anxiety of result. He had nothing to gain, nothing to protect, and nothing to lose. And because he had nothing to lose, he could give everything. This is the freedom of the lotus. The lotus flower is born in the mud. It grows through the murky water. It rises above the surface. And when it blooms, it is pristine. The mud does not cling to its petals, but the lotus does not hate the mud. It does not fight the water. It simply grows through it. The free person lives like this. They are in the world, but they are not stained by the world. Living in the world means facing the eight worldly. Wins, gain and loss, status and disgrace, blame and praise, pleasure and pain. These winds blow constantly. Most of us are leaves in this storm. When praise comes, we fly high, intoxicated by the ego. When blame comes, we crash, crushed by the weight of opinion. When we gain, we are manic. When we lose, we are depressive. But the noble disciple, the one who has trained the mind, stands like a mountain. They feel the wind. They do not deny the wind, but they are not blown over. They receive gain without arrogance, knowing it is temporary. They meet loss without devastation, knowing it is the nature of things. They have made a profound peace with the texture of reality. They do not cling to suffering as an identity. They do not hold grudges as a shield. They do not carry guilt as a form of payment. When pain arises, they feel it fully. They do not numb it, but they let it move through them like a weather system. They know that no storm lasts forever. This is a different kind of freedom than the 1 hour culture sells us. We are sold the freedom of control, the fantasy that if we have enough money and power, we can build a fortress where nothing can hurt us. The Buddha pointed to the freedom of vulnerability, the freedom of no longer needing life to be different than is, the freedom of a heart that can hold everything, the joy, the sorrow, the birth, the death without closing down. The unshaken heart is not a heart of stone. It is a heart that is so open, so vast, that nothing can break it because there are no walls left to crumble. You do not need to be a monk to taste this. You do not need to be perfect. You have likely tasted it already in small moments. A moment when bad news came, and instead of panicking, you took a breath and found a strange calm in the center of the storm. A moment when someone criticized you, and you didn't feel the need to defend your image. A moment of deep loss where you simply wept without resisting the grief. These are glimpses of the destination. The path is not about forcing these moments. It is about creating the conditions for them to arise. It is the gradual loosening of the knots. The Buddha did not promise that this path would be easy. It goes against the grain of our biology. It goes against the conditioning of our society. It asks for patience when we want instant results. It asks for brutal honesty when we would rather look away. But nothing is wasted. Every moment of awareness is a deposit in the bank of freedom. Every time you choose to let go of a small grievance, you are training for the moment when you will have to let go of something large. You are not trying to become someone else. You are learning to be fully present with your life, without the armor, without the grasping. Perhaps that is the deepest definition of freedom, not the power to have whatever you want, but the peace of wanting what is. Begin now, not tomorrow, not when you are. Better, start with this breath. Start with the tension in your shoulders. Start with the thought that is worrying you right now. See it, acknowledge it, and gently, without violence, open the hand. The path is not about reaching a final destination where all problems vanish. The path is about how you walk step by step through an ever-changing, unpredictable, beautiful, and terrifying world. And every step taken with awareness, every step taken without clinging, is already home.